Want me to tell you about the Nike founder's swoosh tattoo on his ankle, or the "Just Do It" slogan taken from the Lucky Killer, or the drowning of Matthew, the founder's soul, in the ocean? This story goes back to January 25, 1964. Nike Inc. is the biggest and most valuable sports company in the world, with an estimated market value of £142.1 billion. Launched by track and field coach Bill Bowerman and Phil Knight, his former student, the company was initially known as Blue Ribbon Sports. Its iconic swoosh logo is recognized throughout the world as the company celebrates 59 years in existence. The story gets more interesting, stay with me. Who invented the $31 billion Nike? Nike is now a worldwide company, but it started off as an everyday idea from somebody just like you and I. Our story begins with two men named Bill Bowerman and Phil Knight. One of the world's most influential business executives, Phil Hampson Knight, was born on February 24, 1938 in Portland, Oregon. In his early years, Knight discovered a passion for sports, particularly running. He embraced racing and found joy in pushing himself to the limit. Knight is a graduate of the University of Oregon and the Stanford Graduate School of Business. In addition to keeping up his accounting career, he became an accounting professor at Portland State University, where he first met his future wife Penelope Parks and married his wife Penny in 1968. Although Philip Knight was certainly the marketing genius behind Nike's success, he wouldn't have had much to market without Bill Bowerman. It was Bowerman's design innovation that kept Nike on the leading edge of athletic shoe technology. William J. Bowerman, born February 1911, was an American track and field coach and co-founder of Nike. Over his career, he trained 31 Olympic athletes, 51 All-Americans, 12 American record holders, 22 NCAA champions, and 60 sub-4-minute miners. Bill Bowerman was a nationally respected track and field coach at the University of Oregon from 1949 to 1972, who was constantly seeking ways to give his athletes a competitive advantage. Bowerman first met Barbara Young while a high school student in Medford. He married Barbara Young on June 22, 1936. True to his character, Bowerman did not seek fame or money. Rather, one of his goals was to create a running shoe that all children could afford.
The brand that we now call Nike, was it called Nike from the beginning? See how Nike was discovered. It was during his time as a graduate student at Stanford that took a class called Small Business Management and became intrigued with the idea of starting his own shoe company. He wrote a paper for the class suggesting that low-priced, high-quality exports from Japan could replace German manufacturers as the dominant athletic shoe supplier to the United States. In 1957, Bill Bowerman met Philip Knight at the University of Oregon. Knight had come there especially to train with Bill Bowerman. While Knight competed on Bowerman's track team, the two became friends and shared the idea that the better the shoe, the better the performance. They both enjoyed sports, especially running and jogging, and believed athletes could achieve greater balance and speed with better shoes. At the time, the athletic shoe market was ruled by German-made sneakers and tennis shoes manufactured by Adidas and Puma. None were really designed for running or jogging. In November 1962, he received his master's degree in business administration. After graduation, he rewarded himself with a trip around the world. A very important stop was in Kobe, Japan. It was there that he discovered Tiger brand running shoes manufactured in Kobe by the Onitsuka Co., now known as ASICS. Impressed by the quality and low cost of the shoes, combining his love for running and his newly acquired business skills, Knight called Mr. Onitsuka, who agreed to meet with him. Got the chance to put his theory to the test. In the conversation, he suggested that they try marketing in the United States. At the meeting, the Onitsuka staff asked him what company he's with. It was a simple question, but the young distance runner and Stanford Business School graduate had not prepared for the simple. He'd only been stewing about the complicated sell of convincing the four Onitsuka executives at the table that there was a market for their shoe in the United States. He has no company and no name. So, dipping quickly into his childhood memories, he remembered the kind of ribbon he'd won after winning a race. Knight had made up the name of his one-man business on the spot. "I represent Blue Ribbon Sports of Portland, Oregon," he says. By the end of the meeting, Knight had secured Tiger distribution rights for the Western United States and signed a deal to distribute them. Bill Bowerman was a genius coach, a master motivator, a natural leader of young men, and there was one piece of gear he deemed crucial to their development: shoes. Who was constantly seeking ways to give his athletes a competitive advantage. The thought that by making a better quality running shoe would increase the speed of his runners. The first Tiger samples would take more than a year to be shipped to Knight. During that time, he found a job as an accountant in Portland. When Knight finally received his first sneaker samples, Did stowed them in his parents' garage. Bowerman, known for his relentless pursuit of innovation and improvement, was constantly searching for ways to enhance his athletes' performance. So, Knight knew that Bowerman would have valuable advice when it came to building a sneaker that perfectly met the needs of a runner. He mailed 2 pairs to his former coach at the University of Oregon, hoping to gain both a sale and an influential endorsement. To Knight's surprise, Bowerman not only ordered the Tiger shoes, but also offered to become a partner with Knight and provide product design ideas. In a partnership, Bill Bowerman and Philip Knight contributed $500 each and shook hands on January 25, 1964 to create Blue Ribbon Sports, the only distributor of Tiger shoes. Bill Bowerman improved the shoes and Philip Knight looked after the business. Knight's first sales were made out of a now-storied green Plymouth Valiant automobile at track meets across the Pacific Northwest. By 1969, these early sales allowed Knight to leave his accountant job and work full-time for Blue Ribbon Sports. The first year Blue Ribbon Sports was in business, the struggling firm made about $8,000. Bill Bowerman also thought that every ounce taken off a shoe was 200 fewer pounds lifted in a race. With these ideas, he began to figure out new ways to make the perfect running shoe. Frequently experimented at home trying to create the perfect running shoe. Bowerman constantly fiddled with running shoes, searching for ways to improve them. He would tear them apart, make a minor modification, stitch them back up, give them to his runners, and observe the results. Bill Bowerman modified Tiger's shoe and renamed it Cortez. It became the best-selling shoe that year for Blue Ribbon Sports. Philip Knight then began to lay the financial groundwork for growth of Blue Ribbon Sports. By the early 1970s, we're producing athletic shoes with a new type of rubber sole that had been crafted by Bowerman for speed and traction. By 1971, the partnership between BRS and Onitsuka was deteriorating. In March, Onitsuka representatives visited Phil Knight in Portland in an attempt to take over BRS. Knight was offered a partnership deal in which Onitsuka would get 51% and Knight and Bowerman would receive 49% ownership. Also, Knight had learned that Onitsuka was actively seeking additional footwear distributors in the U.S., which was a violation of the contract between the two companies. After Philip Knight had been very frustrated with the local credit limit, he and Bill Bowerman ended the partnership with Tiger Company. To their delight, revenue climbed from $8,000 to $1.96 million. The number of employees went from 0 to 45, and the first Blue Ribbon Sports retail store opened in Santa Monica, California. Based on Cortez sales, Bowerman and Knight decided they wanted to create their own line of athletic footwear. Bowerman's expertise in athletic performance and shoe design, combined with Knight's business acumen and marketing prowess, proved to be a formidable partnership. Phil Knight initially wanted to call the company Dimension 6. At the last minute, Phil received one more suggestion from Jeff Johnson, the company's first employee. He said this particular name came to him in a dream the night before: Nike. It was the name of the Greek winged goddess of victory. It was short and had a strong sound thanks to the K letter. It had all the attributes of a good brand name that sticks in the mind of customers. Nike, an athletic beauty whose winged shoes and love of speed would be a perfect symbol for the young company. With only a few seconds to make his decision, Phil chose Nike. In 1972, Blue Ribbon Sports, Inc. officially changed its name to Nike. Knight lists Nike's headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon, as his home address on government records.
If you liked the video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Nike began sponsoring athletes as a way to gain attention for its shoes. Its first deal was with a runner named Steve Prefontaine, who was coached by Bill Bowerman at the University of Oregon. Nike's swoosh logo, now considered one of the most valuable logos in the world, was commissioned for $35 from graphic design student Carolyn Davidson in 1972. According to Nike's website, Knight said at the time, "I don't love it, but it will grow on me." The swoosh was registered with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office on January 22, 1974. To promote the company, Phil Knight and his wife handed out T-shirts with the Nike logo on them at the 1972 Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon. In 1999, Marketing Magazine declared the Nike swoosh to be logo of the century, beating out such famous symbols as McDonald's golden M arches. This made it the most recognizable logo in the world. In April 2011, Knight claimed he gave Davidson a few hundred shares when the company went public. Bowerman's tireless experimentation with new materials and designs led to groundbreaking innovations such as the famous waffle sole. This waffle sole design came into fruition after Bill Bowerman was eating breakfast and wondering if the grooves in his waffle would work for additional traction when playing sports. The first commercial Nike shoe was a variation of the Moon shoe with a more refined design. The shoe would go on to be called the Nike Waffle Racer and was first handed out to athletes at U.S. track events. So named because the waffle tread was said to resemble the footprints left by astronauts on the moon. According to Otis Davis, the holder of 2 gold medals of the 1960 Summer Olympics, a student athlete who Bowerman coached at the University of Oregon. He was one of the guinea pigs for whom Bowerman customized shoes prior to being a co-founder of Nike. Davis states, "I didn't like the way they felt on my feet. There was no support and they were too tight. But I saw Bowerman make them from the waffle iron, and they were mine." The success of the waffle trainer and Astro Grabber prompted the company to sign an agreement in 1977 with aerospace engineer Frank Rudy, who led a design team to invent the Nike Air technology that was first utilized in the Tailwind running shoe in 1978. Knight's marketing strategy was simple. Rather than rely on advertising, which he admittedly loathed, he would get top athletes to endorse his shoes and then let his sales force sell the product. His strategy and the timing of the launch couldn't have been better. That summer, the Olympic track and field trials were held in Eugene, Oregon, with none other than Bill Bowerman as coach of the American Olympic team. Knight took full advantage of the opportunity, putting Nikes on the feet of several top finishers. When they made national television, so did the shoes they were wearing. One of the most visible runners to wear Nikes was American record holder Steve Prefontaine. A cocky, anti-establishment type, Prefontaine became the first of a team of edgy athletes Knight recruited to endorse his shoes. After tennis, bad boy John McEnroe hurt his ankle and began wearing Nike 3/4 top shoes. Sales of that style leapt from 10,000 pairs to over 1 million. And the sudden popularity of jogging combined with Nike's canny marketing created a demand where none existed before. By the mid-1980s, the financial signals were coming through loud and clear. Nike had been profitable throughout the 1970s. Then all of a sudden in fiscal year 1985, the company was in the red for 2 quarters, in such a way that they had to fire 280 people. Nike's primary advertising agency, Whedon plus Kennedy, has worked with the brand to create many iconic advertisements, including the slogan, "Just Do It," which was coined by agency co-founder Dan Whedon in 1988. Just Do It, the tagline of the mega brand, was inspired by none other than serial killer Gary Gilmore, who said, "Let's do it" moments before his execution. The Just Do It campaign has become one of the world's most iconic marketing campaigns and is still used today. Nike again approached an athlete to wear its shoes. The young man Knight and Bowerman selected was Michael Jordan, who, in 1985, was just starting to make a name for himself in basketball as a player for the Chicago Bulls. Knight believed Jordan had loads of potential, just like young filmmaker Spike Lee, who was signed to produce several television ads featuring Jordan. Part of Nike's success is owed to endorsements by high-profile athletes. In addition to Michael Jordan, the company has signed deals with Mia Hamm, Roger Federer, Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Cristiano Ronaldo. The end of the 1990s brought a major change for Nike and Phil Knight when Bill Bowerman retired from the board of directors after 30 years. Just a few months later, Bowerman died on December 24, 1999, at his home in Fossil, Oregon. Knight, Nike employees, and hundreds of athletes past and present mourned the loss of Bowerman, a vital force in creating Nike and its one-of-a-kind products. While Bowerman could never be replaced, the company honored his memory with a new line of shoes carrying his name. At the time of his death, the net worth of Bill Bowerman was $400 million. In May 2004, 2 years after Knight bought Vinton, his son Matthew, aged 34 years, traveled to El Salvador to film a fundraising video for Christian Children of the World, a Portland nonprofit organization. However, while scuba diving with his colleagues Vincenzo Iannizelli and Robert McDonnell in Lake Ilopango, near San Salvador, he died from a heart attack at a depth of 46 meters underwater due to an undetected congenital heart defect. Knight resigned as Nike CEO on November 18, 2004, several months after Matthew's funeral, though he continued as the company's chairman until 2016. Following his retirement, Knight still remained the biggest stakeholder in Nike and created Swoosh, a limited liability company that holds the majority of Knight's Nike shares as well as $13.9 billion worth of Nike stock. Swoosh has its own board of directors with 5 votes, and at the time, Knight held 2 of them. Knight has since become among the top 30 wealthiest people in the world with a net worth of over $45 billion as of February 2023, according to Forbes. Also, wrote a book titled Shoe Dog in 2016. Shoe Dog is the name given to people who dedicate their obsessive careers to the shoe business. In the early 21st century, Nike's retail outlets and distributors had expanded to more than 170 countries. Thank you for watching the story until the end.